Working with color in an image can sometimes be a little daunting, but it doesn't have to be. All we have to really do is understand how our editor of choice is handling the color in the photo. Today begins a mini series where we're going to take a look at how ON1 deals with color in our images. So stay tuned. If you'd like to download this particular file of the color wheel, you can do so using the link in the description box below. I highly recommend it if you want to test this out and really follow along and learn what these filters are doing to the image. Now, with that being said, you don't have to be a genius when it comes to color wheels and things of that sort, because I am completely not, I promise. All you really need to know is on the right side of this black line, we have warmer colors. And on the left side of this black line, we have cooler colors. If you understand that much, you will be able to really develop a palette in your images. And I'll show you that a little bit later. Now, let's get familiar with the color mixer before we start messing with stuff. So with a color mixer, it's probably one of the most simplistic tools for managing color inside of your image or manipulating it, because it essentially just allows you to select multiple channels and manipulate the hue, saturation, and brightness. We're not going to worry about this eye picker tool and this little drop down. That's not important for what we're trying to accomplish with our basic understanding of manipulating color in an image. However, what ON1 includes in their color mixer that some other editors don't include is a range tool. And what the range tool does, if I pull down on the brightness here, now mind you, we're working with the red channel, you can see what's happening with our color mixer or our color wheel already. As soon as I pull down on that brightness, the reds got darker, as well as the magentas to the left and the oranges to the right. Well, if I look at these channels, you'll notice I have a red channel, and to the right, I have orange, which is represented here. And to the left, I have magenta, which is represented here on the color wheel. What the range slider does is if I pull it to the left, it makes it more focused on just manipulating the red channel here. So if I pull this up and down, you can see it's still doing a little bit with the magenta channel. However, it's mostly impacting just this red channel. And then you can probably guess that if I pull this up, it's going to include more channels. But inside of ON1, the way that the range works is it moves to the right of the color spectrum. You'll notice that as I move this up, it starts to impact our yellows over here. Now, the oranges, it goes past the oranges and into the yellows, essentially. So that's very helpful to understand, especially when you start working with images where there's very similar colors and you want to manipulate them the same way as far as hue, saturation, and brightness goes. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and reset this so we can talk about the other two items. Hue is going to be the actual color that this channel is going to manipulate, or how you want to change your color to lean towards. So again, I'll just pull down on the brightness, makes it a little bit easier to see. And so if I pull the hue to the right, you'll notice that the red starts to become more like orange. It starts to look more similar to orange, right? And I can, increase the range. And now I'm starting to get a very similar color scheme here. And this is the power of using the color mixer. What you're doing is you're reprogramming what the reds are actually going to look like. And this is super helpful when it comes to stylizing an image, especially if you wanted to get something that looked a little bit more like orange and teal. Well, I can probably make that up. I didn't practice this, so hopefully I get it right on the first go. Let's click on the magentas and let's push the magentas over towards the reds. You can see how that's starting to turn a little bit more brown. Maybe we need to darken it. And I don't think saturating it is going to work, so maybe desaturate it, pull that out, and shift this over to the right. So now that's getting a little bit more like a brown tone. And then let's go with yellows. Maybe shift that over towards the orange, desaturate that a touch. So we're starting to get a very similar color palette on the warmer tones of our image. The way that this really translates into your image is going to make more sense, but I want you to see how these tools work inside of ON1 to kind of design this particular color palette. All right. So we have the warmer tones looking mostly like a brownish look. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, well, what color do I want on the cooler tones and what do I want it to favor? And so you come over to the cooler tones and you start to manipulate the saturation, probably going to go with a more muted look here, darken it down, and maybe push the blues or cyans more towards blue. Maybe move the hue of the blues towards cyan. And I'm just trying to balance all of these colors. Now, I probably will stop here because, again, I'm not a color theorist, and I would probably never try to sit here and manipulate a color wheel like this because that's not the way that we work with images. The real impact here is just me showing you that the color mixer will allow you to manipulate the colors in your image to reprogram them. And that is what you got to understand, right? Now, let's take a look at how to use the color mixer in real life on an image. Okay, so here we are on a real image, and all I've done is applied some Brilliance AI to this just to increase the overall exposure, but I haven't done much of anything else to the image, and I've just applied the color mixer. And so the first thing you have to do is look at your image and say, okay, what colors do I want to favor? And what is the style that I'm ultimately going for in this image? And so what I'm seeing are reds, greens, and then yellows, which are going to have some green in it. I see green in the background. So there is a lot of green in this image. And so I have to ask myself, do I really want greens in this photo? In my case, I think I want the photo to feel a little bit more artistic. So I'm probably going to shift the greens to a different looking color. All right. So what I'm going to do is click on the greens and I'm going to start there. And this is kind of the way that I like to use a color mixer. You can let me know how you use it in the description box and in the description box. This is just the way that I like to use the color mixer as far as identifying the primary color and then working from there to set the stage for everything else. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the greens and let's move the hues over to like more of a cyan and then maybe even increase the range. So now my greens are a little bit more punchy and green, if you will. And I'll darken them down because I don't think that they need to be bright. And then let's play with the saturation. Yeah, maybe something like this looks pretty good. And I'm playing off of the red in her sleeve here. So that's something that I was thinking, but I didn't say. Now, I want to give you caution when you work with the red, orange, and yellow channels. If there's a person in the picture, just know that these channels are going to work on their skin. And so masking is going to come in extremely, extremely handy with situations like that. All right. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to, just blast this all over an image with a portrait, but it is something that can be recovered. So let's go ahead and start by with the reds, maybe darkening those down. They are a little bright. And then I'll add in some saturation so they really pop. Because again, I'm looking at these sleeves right here. I think those look pretty good, just like that. I may move them more towards a magenta. It's a very subtle shift, but it helps with the balance of what's going on with these greens. And so now I need to work with these yellows and these lighter greens that are happening in here. And that should be in the yellow channel. So I'm going to jump over to the yellow channel, and I'm going to increase the range because I want to select more of what's in the greens, but manipulating the yellows, if that makes sense. So we'll just pull the range up to 20. And then what I want to do is move the hue towards orange. And you can see how that's just making this look more like a fall image, which I'm satisfied with. And we can brighten these up, or yeah, we'll brighten them up. And then we'll come into orange because I already manipulated the greens. So that's, kind of the challenge here. If you work in one channel, then you kind of lose the ability to work in that channel to change other colors. Like I'm not getting the yellow that I really want out of these greens, but that's okay. I can leave that alone. And we'll brighten, I think we'll brighten up the oranges. And we can also desaturate them so they don't compete with the colors around it. And maybe move these towards a yellow, or, I mean, I guess we could really make them more fall-esque. So something like that. Let's go ahead and turn this off, turn it back on, and you can see how I'm just taking control of the color in the image. Now, again, I don't like what it's doing to her face here, so I'm going to click on the mask, and then I'm going to hit the plus icon, and I'm just going to use a brush for this one. So we'll hover over brush, and I want to subtract it from this area right here in her face. And so now when I turn this off and on, you can see her face isn't changing, but the colors around her are. And I think that this looks really, really good. Now, if I wanted to really take hold of these greens and turn those more yellow, the beauty of working in ON1 is you can click Add Filter. I can add another color mixer. I can come into my yellows, increase the range, or I'm sorry, I need to go to greens, increase the range, and then shift it over towards yellow. And you can see how I'm starting to get those leaves right there, but it's starting to impact all of these greens. So what I need to do is mask this in. So I can click on the mask, we'll hit invert on the primary mask, and that's just going to hide it from everywhere. And so now what I can do is I can come into my brush tool, and we'll just, or this needs to be on add. So we will change the mode over to add and just paint this in where it needs to be, just like so. And so now I'm starting to get all of my leaves to be that yellowish color that I want it in my photo to begin with. And that's the beauty of just having multiple instances of a color mixer and then masking it in where you need it. So that way you can control the way that the image looks. So turning that off and on, now I have access to the color palette that I want it. And, I can continue doing this as many times as necessary if I wanted to desaturate the green down here, but really manipulate the greens up here, whatever, I can do that. So here's the before, what we came into ON1 Photo RAW with, and here is the after with using the color mixer in a realistic way to manipulate the photo and really make this look the way that we want it to. If you want to save money when shopping over at the ON1 store, either picking up ON1 or plugins or subscribing to the ON1 Plus community, consider using the coupon code and affiliate link in the description box below. I do make a commission from everyone who uses those items. However, it's at no extra cost to you, and it's a great way of supporting this channel. It's a win-win for everyone involved. If you want to learn how to use ON1 Photo RAW, consider signing up for a training call. You can find a link for that in the description box below as well. Until next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.